In case you couldn't tell from the blatant Erdrick crest in my banner, Dragon Quest is one of my all-time favorite video game franchises. Though it isn't that popular within English-speaking audiences, it's certainly iconic in Japan. And as a JRPG fan myself, I can certainly see why. In story, music, art, and tone, Dragon Quest has such a unique atmosphere. Yet, it's one of the simpler JRPG franchises out there, especially when you consider that it's the same genre that birthed Final Fantasy, Atelier, and SMT. It doesn't exactly have the most complex gameplay, stories, or characters, but always manages to deliver a unique, fun experience. So, why is DQ so successful despite being so much simpler than these other franchises? Well, it all goes back to the 1980s, when Dragon Quest for the Famicom was developed and released. In case you don't know, the game's creation is often attributed to three men: Yuji Horii, the designer, Akira Toriyama, the artist, and the late Koichi Sugiyama, who wrote the game's 8 tracks. Horii, who was a fan of video games himself, designed DQ to be more approachable for casual gamers, which led to the birth of the modern RPG. His experiences working on visual novels and other RPGs led to the creation of Dragon Quest as we know it. Toriyama, on the other hand, was hired due to his popularly massive manga, Dragon Ball, in order to give some more mass appeal to the game. Toriyama's art mixes a chibi style with a more serious aesthetic to create this sort of cute and strong look. This can clearly be seen comparing the look of the game's box art to art of the hero himself. Lastly, Koichi Sugiyama, who was already a pretty well-known television composer, contacted Enix and was asked to score their upcoming game. And though Sugiyama wasn't exactly a good person in a lot of ways, his contributions to the franchise can't exactly be ignored. So, his scores are iconic, and really set the tone for Dragon Quest I's Aleph Guard. So, it may seem that this game was destined to be a smash hit based on the names I've already said, but that's not exactly how things panned out. Though it was well received in Japan, selling over 1 million copies, the franchise didn't really have its big break until the iconic Dragon Quest III: The Seeds of Salvation was released, only 2 years later. The game sold 1 million copies in a day, and 3 million in a week. Needless to say, there was something really special about this entry, and even though 3 isn't my personal favorite, a lot of the blueprints for the modern JRPG are really plain to see in this game. And I think that's pretty important to note. Dragon Quest laid the groundwork for the genre that others copied, and I think this is pretty clear when playing any of the mainline games. Since the franchise was the first to implement so many ideas and clearly knows how to make them fun and entertaining, something like Dragon Quest XI, the newest game as of now, is fun and entertaining. It refrains from overwhelming the player with too much information like other JRPGs, and even has speed-up options to make things go faster. I mean, compared to Xenoblade 3, a personal favorite of mine. In Xenoblade 3, you have to manage your Kavesi arts, Agnian arts, talent gauge, chain attack gauge, combos, Ouroboros gauge, character positioning, effect circles, enemy health and aggro, buffs and debuffs, and 7 party members. Dragon Quest's simple setup is more of a blessing than a curse. I mean, all you have to really think about is attack, defend, spells, abilities, items, equipment. It's a really simple setup by comparison, and that's by design. If you remember, I said earlier that DQ1 was designed to be approachable for new players, and that philosophy didn't end with the first game. The entire franchise is designed to be approachable. It's simple by design. The simpler plots of the stories are the same. They make the game easy to pick up and play for audiences of any age. I mean, anyone from a 10-year-old to a salaryman can grasp the concept of freeing the world from an evil overlord. And though the overarching plots of the games may be simple, one thing I absolutely adore are the little story arcs each town has. I mean, take Dragon Quest IV for example. The game takes place over 5 chapters in which you play as different party members until they eventually meet up to face the evil overlord Sorrow. And over the course of the game, you go to numerous towns which have different characters and stories. You have a tomboy princess escaped in order to fight in a combat tournament. You have a merchant start his empire. You help an innkeeper's son meet his mentor, go through so many little mini-adventures. That's the beauty of a Dragon Quest plot. Not some big, complex, overarching lore spanning over 3 mini-series with multiverses, but the simple little towns you and your party help throughout your journey. Even in visuals and music, Dragon Quest isn't really that complex. I mean, you battle silly-looking monsters with puns for names rather than giant robots or eldritch horrors, with songs featuring the game's iconic musical style playing in the background. It's an integral part of the Dragon Quest experience. Like I said earlier, the world is full of an unmatched charm, and that's why Dragon Quest simplicity works. Because of the game's overall tone and charm. They don't take themselves too seriously, but don't treat everything like a joke. At the end of the day, that's what Dragon Quest is. I love other JRPGs, but I can't imagine the genre without a comfy Dragon Quest to fall back on every now and then. And I know the soundtracks can be controversial, but they really are quite good. If I have one problem with them, especially in 11, it's that there aren't enough tracks to span a 100-hour game. Well, I love the series, and I really wish more Westerners did. To sum it all up, the games are simple, but have their own unique and comforting charm to them. I've seen Dragon Quest described as the Mario of JRPGs, and I think that tracks. Games don't try to blow you away with too many concepts or mechanics, but focus on honing in on a few mechanics and being approachable. The Dragon Quest series lives and dies by its signature charm. It's comfort food in JRPG form, and is beautiful in a way that so many don't recognize. If you've never played one, please do. I personally recommend you start with 11 or 4, but all of them are great games. Except 2. Thanks for watching, and if you like listening to me rant about a 30-year-old game series, consider subscribing. Who knows, maybe this whole YouTube thing will take off. And if you want Dragon Quest videos that are probably better, check out Stacked Keys. Thanks for watching.